Imagine a secret so profound, so simple, yet so powerful that it could completely transform the way you experience life. What if I told you that this secret isn't just an ancient philosophy or a mysterious concept, but a key that can unlock a whole new world within your mind? It's not a trick. It's not some distant theory. It's real. And it has the potential to change everything you thought you knew about happiness, peace, and the very essence of life itself. Today, we're diving deep into the incredible life of one of the most fascinating individuals to ever walk the earth. His name is Matthieu Ricard, a man who stands at the intersection of science and spirituality. He's a former molecular geneticist who walked away from a promising career in the scientific world to embrace the life of a Buddhist monk. But Ricard is more than just a monk. He's a modern-day bridge between ancient wisdom and cutting-edge science, and his work is showing us how these two worlds can come together to unlock untapped potential within us all. Now here's where it gets interesting. Matthieu Ricard's brain has been described as the happiest in the world. This isn't a metaphor. This was actually observed during a groundbreaking study where neuroscientists measured his brain while he meditated. The results? Ricard's brain showed extraordinary levels of positive emotions and emotional regulation. Think about that for a moment. Imagine a mind that's consistently calm, happy, and free from the usual chaos and negativity we face every day. But Ricard's story isn't just about science or happiness. It's a story about what happens when we look beyond the ordinary and seek something deeper, when we connect with a wisdom that has been passed down for thousands of years. It's about the profound, life-changing teachings of Buddhism that offer us a path to understanding not just our own happiness, but the very nature of reality itself. What if I told you that you too could tap into this same source of happiness and inner peace? That the Buddhist secret isn't something distant or unattainable. It's a practice, a mindset, and a way of being that is available to everyone, no matter who you are or where you come from. Today, we'll explore these Buddhist teachings, diving into how they can reshape our thoughts, actions, and ultimately, our lives. Stick with me, because the journey we're about to take might just unlock the secret you've been searching for your entire life. This isn't just about learning a philosophy, it's about discovering a powerful way to change your mind, your happiness, and your experience of life. Let's get started. Born in 1946 in the charming town of Aix-les-Bains, nestled in the picturesque landscapes of southeastern France, Matthieu Ricard entered a world rich in culture, intellect, and artistic brilliance. His upbringing was nothing short of extraordinary. His father, Jean-François Revel, wasn't just a philosopher. He was a towering figure in French intellectual circles, a man unafraid to challenge conventions and question authority. His mother, Jeanne Le Toumelin, brought a different kind of genius into the family, channeling her creative soul into the world of abstract art. Together, they created a home that was a crossroads of ideas, creativity, and intellectual exploration. Imagine growing up in a household where every dinner conversation felt like a seminar on life's greatest mysteries. Philosophers, artists, and thinkers from all walks of life were regular guests at their table. They debated everything, from the meaning of existence to the nature of consciousness, from the structures of society to the vastness of the cosmos. For most of us, this would feel like an overwhelming ocean of ideas. For Matthieu, it was the air he breathed. But even with this incredible intellectual environment, something deeper stirred within him. While others marveled at the complexity of these ideas, Ricard couldn't shake the feeling that these conversations, as profound as they were, stopped short of touching the heart of the matter. They dissected the mind, but never seemed to experience it fully. They questioned the meaning of life, but left its essence unexplored. Have you ever felt like you were standing at the edge of a great mystery, knowing there's something more, just beyond your reach? For Ricard, this feeling wasn't just a fleeting thought. It was a persistent ache. No book, no argument, no philosophical debate could satisfy the longing in his heart. He wanted to go beyond words, beyond theories, beyond the confines of intellectual reasoning. There was a deeper truth out there, one that couldn't be found in the pages of a book or the halls of academia. This wasn't about rejecting his intellectual roots. It was about finding a way to go beyond them, to a place where the mind and heart could align in harmony. What is this longing we sometimes feel that pulls us out of our comfortable realities and into the unknown? Could it be that this is the first step on the path to discovering something greater? For Ricard, this longing would lead him on a journey that few would dare to take. A journey that would transform him from a young intellectual with a bright future in science into one of the most renowned spiritual figures of our time. His story reminds us that sometimes the answers we seek aren't found in the external world, but within ourselves. And the first step is listening to that inner voice, that quiet but persistent call for something more. Fast forward to the early 1970s, and Matthieu Ricard's life is on a trajectory that many would envy. He is immersed in the world of science, working at the prestigious Pasteur Institute in Paris, one of the foremost research institutions in the world. Here, Ricard finds himself at the heart of the cutting-edge field of molecular genetics, surrounded by some of the brightest minds in biology. He's studying the very building blocks of life, diving deep into the mysteries of cells, genes, and the intricate mechanisms that make life as we know it possible. To anyone on the outside, it must have looked like the perfect life, a brilliant career in science, an esteemed position in a world-renowned institution, and the chance to contribute to discoveries that could change the course of humanity. But despite all of this, something was still missing. Matthieu Ricard felt an unshakable emptiness, a sense that there was more to life than the numbers, the data, and the experiments. He realized that while his work was fascinating, it didn't fulfill him in the way he had hoped. There was a disconnect between the success he had achieved and the peace he had imagined would accompany it. Have you ever found yourself in a situation where you've worked so hard, put in the hours, made the sacrifices, and yet, when you finally achieve the goal, there's an unsettling feeling that it's not enough? Ricard was no stranger to this feeling. At the height of his scientific career, surrounded by accolades and opportunities, he couldn't ignore the gnawing question at the back of his mind. Is this all there is? The research, the discoveries, the accolades, did they really lead to lasting happiness? Or were they simply temporary distractions from a deeper longing? This is a question many of us face in our own lives. We chase success, thinking it will bring us fulfillment, but sometimes we find that it only brings more questions. It's a feeling that ricocheted through Ricard's heart, a sense that no matter how much he achieved in the external world, something inside him was still longing for something more. In his heart, Ricard felt a deep yearning for meaning beyond the material. He wanted to understand not just how life worked at the genetic level, but what made life meaningful on a deeper, spiritual level. This inner disquiet wasn't a sign of failure. It was a sign that Ricard was being called to something greater, something beyond the confines of the scientific method. And this realization would set him on a journey that would change his life forever, a journey toward inner peace and spiritual awakening. Ricard's story speaks to all of us who have ever questioned the purpose of our pursuits. We often measure success by the achievements we collect, the goals we meet, the external recognition we receive. But deep down, we know that true fulfillment lies somewhere else. Ricard's journey reminds us that sometimes the answers to our deepest questions don't lie in what we do, but in who we are and how we connect with the world around us. There comes a moment in many of our lives when we reach a point of deep reflection, when the questions we've been running from finally catch up with us. For Matthieu Ricard, that moment came when he met the Tibetan Buddhist master, Matthieu Rinpoche. Up until that point, Ricard's life had been focused on the logical, the scientific, the world of facts, data, and measurable results. But this encounter, this fateful meeting with Rinpoche, marked a turning point in his life, a moment when the universe seemed to whisper, "There's more to life than you've been told." It's hard to imagine, isn't it? A man who had dedicated his life to studying molecular genetics, someone entrenched in the precision of science and the rigor of academia, suddenly finding himself on a path towards spirituality. But that's exactly what happened. Ricard wasn't just looking for answers to abstract philosophical questions or a mere understanding of the human condition. What he was searching for was something more profound, a way to unlock the secret of human happiness. A happiness that transcends not just the world of science, but also the fleeting joys that come from external achievements. He was looking for something that could offer him lasting peace, a happiness that was independent of circumstances, something that could be cultivated from within. When Ricard first encountered Tibetan Buddhism, it wasn't just the religion or philosophy that intrigued him, it was the depth of the teachings. In the remote mountains of the Himalayas, he found something that science could never offer, a map to the mind, a pathway to inner peace. The more he learned, the more he realized that the pursuit of happiness wasn't about achieving more in the outside world. It was about transforming the way he related to his own mind. In the ancient teachings of Tibetan Buddhism, Ricard found what he had been seeking all along, an answer to the question of how we can experience true, lasting happiness. It wasn't something to be found externally, but rather something to be cultivated from within. This wasn't just an intellectual pursuit for Ricard, it was a profound shift in the way he saw life. Tibetan Buddhism offered him a new lens through which to view the world, one that wasn't constrained by the rigid boundaries of science or the limitations of material success. It was a way of life that embraced compassion, mindfulness, and meditation as the keys to unlocking our potential as human beings. And what Ricard discovered, both in his studies and in his personal practice, was that happiness wasn't a fleeting state to be pursued. It was a skill to be developed, a muscle to be trained. Ricard's journey wasn't about abandoning science or intellect. It was about integrating the wisdom of Buddhism into his understanding of the world, creating a balance between reason and spiritual insight. He began to see that, in many ways, the teachings of Tibetan Buddhism were not at odds with science, but rather complemented it. Together, they formed a holistic approach to life, one that honors both the mind and the spirit. For Ricard, the teachings of Tibetan Buddhism didn't just offer answers to abstract questions, they offered a roadmap to a deeper sense of fulfillment. They taught him how to train his mind, how to cultivate compassion and loving kindness, and how to approach life with a sense of equanimity that could weather any storm. This, he realized, was the secret to happiness. It wasn't about chasing after success or external validation. It was about creating inner peace and contentment, no matter what life threw your way. As Ricard's journey continued, he began to understand something profound. The key to happiness is not something to be discovered in the world around us, but within the depths of our own consciousness. And in the wisdom of Tibetan Buddhism, he found the secret to unlocking that potential, a secret that could transform the way we all experience life. After years of diving deep into the study of molecular genetics, spending countless hours in laboratories, Ricard reached a point in his life where the answers he sought in science no longer fulfilled him. The accomplishments and prestige of his academic career had begun to feel hollow. It was as if something was missing, a piece of the puzzle that no scientific discovery could provide. It takes a tremendous amount of courage to walk away from a life that most people would consider a dream, one filled with security, respect, and intellectual acclaim. But Ricard did just that. He made the life-changing decision to leave it all behind, trading in his white coat for the simple robes of a Tibetan Buddhist monk. This wasn't a decision made in haste. Ricard didn't just leave science. He made the conscious choice to devote his life to something far deeper, something that resonated with him on a soul level. His new life was built on simplicity, discipline, and a pursuit of inner peace, a path that involved a total transformation of the way he viewed the world. While many people might think of monks as living a life of escape or retreat from society, Ricard saw it differently. For him, this wasn't about running away from the world. It was about diving deeper into it. In the peaceful monasteries of Nepal and India, Ricard immersed himself in the sacred teachings of Buddhism, which emphasized the importance of compassion, mindfulness, and meditation. Can you imagine what that must have been like for him? After years of living in a world driven by logic and data, Ricard now found himself in the midst of something entirely different. No longer bound by the constraints of scientific research or the quest for external success, he embraced the inward journey of self-awareness and spiritual growth. It was in the silence and simplicity of these ancient monasteries that Ricard experienced a profound shift in his understanding of life. This was the moment when everything finally clicked for him. In the midst of meditation and introspection, he discovered the answers to the questions that had eluded him for so long. He realized that happiness wasn't something to be found in the external world, through achievements, recognition, or accumulating knowledge. True happiness, he found, is something that comes from within. It's a state of mind that can be cultivated through practices like mindfulness, compassion, and meditation. So, what exactly did Ricard learn that could change the way we view life? First and foremost, he learned that the secret to lasting happiness lies in our ability to train our minds. In the Buddhist tradition, we are taught that our minds are powerful, and how we relate to the world shapes our experience of it. When Ricard embraced mindfulness, he began to understand that by simply paying attention to our thoughts, we can gain control over our emotions, reactions, and behaviors. This was one of the first secrets of Buddhism that Ricard unlocked, the awareness that we are not victims of our circumstances, but active participants in the way we experience the world. Compassion was another key insight that Ricard embraced. In his time as a monk, Ricard discovered that cultivating compassion wasn't just about feeling sympathy for others. It was about developing an understanding of our shared humanity. By seeing others through the lens of kindness and empathy, we learn to remove the barriers that divide us. This, Ricard found, was the foundation for peace, both within ourselves and in our relationships with others. Lastly, Ricard came to understand the power of meditation, not just as a practice for relaxation or stress relief, but as a means of transforming the mind. Through regular meditation, Ricard learned to quiet the noise of his thoughts, to detach from the constant stream of distractions, and to cultivate a state of inner stillness. This stillness, he found, was the gateway to insight, to clarity, and to a deep, abiding peace that transcended the ups and downs of life. So, how can we apply these ancient secrets to our modern lives? In a world that is constantly demanding more from us, more success, more achievements, more possessions, it's easy to feel overwhelmed. But the teachings Ricard discovered show us that true peace comes from within. By practicing mindfulness, embracing compassion, and committing to a regular meditation practice, we can start to unlock the same peace and happiness that Ricard discovered in the monasteries of Nepal and India. These aren't just ancient teachings from a distant culture. They are timeless practices that can help us navigate the complexities of modern life and find a deeper sense of fulfillment. It's not about leaving your career behind or retreating from the world. It's about transforming the way you engage with it, about unlocking the potential within your own mind to experience happiness and peace in every moment. So the real question is, are you ready to dive deep into your own inner world and discover what's waiting for you there? As Ricard's journey into the depths of Buddhist teachings continued, something fascinating started to unfold. He had always felt that the practice of meditation could bring about profound changes, not only in the mind, but in the very way we experience life. But what if meditation could do even more than just bring calm and clarity? What if it could actually change the brain itself? In the early 2000s, Ricard's curiosity led him to participate in a groundbreaking experiment. Alongside neuroscientists at the University of Wisconsin-Madison, led by the renowned Richard Davidson, Ricard took part in a study that would forever change the way we understand the connection between the mind and the brain. The researchers were studying something that, at the time, seemed almost impossible. Could meditation actually alter the brain's structure and function? For this experiment, Ricard was hooked up to brain imaging equipment while he meditated, allowing the scientists to observe his brain activity in real time. The results were nothing short of extraordinary. While Ricard meditated, his brain showed patterns of activity that were profoundly different from those of the average person. His brain exhibited heightened levels of happiness and emotional regulation, surpassing the normal range of emotional balance and positivity. It was almost as if his mind had been rewired to be in a constant state of well-being, regardless of external circumstances. Imagine that for a moment. In a world where many of us struggle with stress, anxiety, and emotional instability, the idea that our brains could actually be trained for happiness seems almost too good to be true. And yet, Ricard's brain scans proved it. Through the practice of meditation, it's possible to cultivate a mind that is more resilient, more content, and more compassionate. This raises a fascinating question. Could all of us, with the right tools and practices, train our minds to be happier, more balanced, and more at peace? If Ricard's brain, after years of meditation, could show signs of heightened joy and emotional control, perhaps there's hope for us all. What if the secret to happiness isn't just about external circumstances, but about how we train our minds to experience the world? The scientific evidence is compelling, and it's deeply aligned with the core teachings of Buddhism. In Buddhist practice, we learn that our minds are not fixed. They are malleable and subject to change. Through mindfulness, compassion, and meditation, we can begin to reshape the way we think, feel, and respond to the world around us. Just like muscles in the body, the mind can be strengthened with regular training. So, what does this mean for us? If meditation can physically change the brain, does that mean we could all train ourselves to be happier? Could we too rewire our brains for greater peace, calm, and emotional balance? The answer, it seems, is yes. By committing to practices like meditation, we can begin to shift our mental patterns, releasing stress and anxiety while cultivating joy and compassion. It's not an overnight transformation, but with dedication and practice, the potential is there for all of us to unlock a happier, more balanced version of ourselves. Imagine waking up each day with a mind that is calm, focused, and resilient. Imagine approaching life with the emotional stability to handle whatever comes your way, and the compassion to not only care for yourself, but for those around you. That's the power of training the mind, a power that Ricard discovered through his own practice, and that's available to all of us if we're willing to commit to the path. One of the most profound and transformative teachings in Buddhism is that meditation isn't just about escaping the challenges of life. It's about diving deeply into those challenges to transform them. For Matthieu Ricard, meditation wasn't simply a mental exercise. It was a key that unlocked the full potential of the human mind, helping him see life and himself in a completely different light. Think about it. In the hustle and bustle of everyday life, we often get caught up in the noise. The endless thoughts, worries, and distractions pull us away from our true selves. Meditation, however, offers a chance to step back from that chaos, to create space where we can truly be. It's like taking a deep breath after being underwater for too long. In that moment of stillness, we reconnect with something deeper, something more profound. But meditation isn't just about finding temporary relief or peace. It's much more than that. Meditation has the power to completely rewire the brain. In a sense, it's like hitting the reset button, allowing us to reshape how we respond to the world around us. Through consistent practice, meditation strengthens areas of the brain responsible for joy, empathy, and emotional regulation, while also quieting the regions that feed anxiety and stress. Ricard often speaks about this experience. He describes how, through years of deep meditation, he was able to cultivate a state of joy and clarity, not just as a fleeting feeling, but as a permanent aspect of his life. Imagine that, living in a state where happiness isn't something you chase, but something you experience naturally, because it becomes embedded in your brain's very wiring. Now here's the powerful part. We can all do this. Meditation isn't reserved for monks or spiritual masters. It's a practice accessible to everyone, no matter where you are in life. The question is, how can we start using meditation to our advantage? The first step is simply to begin. You don't need to be in a monastery or dedicate hours of your day. Just start by carving out a few minutes each day, finding a quiet space, and focusing on your breath. That's it. Focus on the sensation of your inhale and exhale. When your mind starts to wander, and it will, gently bring it back to the breath. Over time, as you practice this stillness, you'll begin to notice subtle changes. The mind that once felt chaotic and restless will begin to feel calmer, more peaceful. You'll notice that you're able to respond to life with more clarity, patience, and compassion. The beauty of meditation lies in its simplicity. It's not about achieving a particular goal or striving for perfection. It's about showing up every day, even for just a few moments, and allowing yourself to experience the present moment without judgment. It's through this practice that we begin to access a deeper level of awareness, a space where we can meet ourselves exactly as we are, and, in turn, transform how we interact with the world. By committing to meditation, we're not just looking for short-term relief. We're slowly but surely rewiring our brains to experience life in a way that is more joyful, compassionate, and clear. Just like Matthieu Ricard, we can unlock our own potential, finding peace and happiness not by searching outside of ourselves, but by discovering what's already within us. So, what's the secret? It's not about finding an escape from the world. It's about engaging with the world in a completely new way. Meditation gives us the tools to do just that, to unlock a deeper sense of happiness and clarity, and to bring those qualities into our daily lives. The key is in your hands. You just need to take the first step. One of the most profound lessons Matthieu Ricard discovered on his journey through Buddhist practice was the incredible power of compassion. In a world that often pushes us to focus on our individual success, achievement, and material gain, Ricard's teachings offer a refreshing and much-needed shift in perspective. He realized that true happiness doesn't come from what we accumulate or what we accomplish. It comes from how we relate to others and how we show up in the world, not as isolated individuals, but as interconnected beings. Buddhist compassion, as Ricard explains, is not about simply feeling sorry for someone or offering sympathy from a distance. It's much deeper than that. Compassion in the Buddhist sense is about a profound sense of connection with all living beings, seeing others not as separate from us, but as part of the same web of life. It's about wishing them genuine happiness and actively working to alleviate their suffering, no matter how big or small. It's about having a heart that is open to the struggles of others and responding with love and understanding. Now imagine for a moment if you lived every day with this mindset. What if, instead of being preoccupied with your own success or concerns, you took a moment to really connect with the people around you? What if, in every interaction, you approached others with the intention to wish them well, to genuinely care about their happiness and well-being? How different would your conversations, your relationships, and your day-to-day life look? It's easy to get caught up in our own small worlds, but Buddhist compassion invites us to step outside of that. Ricard speaks about the joy that comes from connecting with others in a deeply human way, from looking at someone not just as a colleague or a stranger, but as another human being, deserving of kindness and empathy. It's this kind of compassion that strengthens relationships, builds communities, and most importantly, nurtures our own sense of peace and fulfillment. But it's not always easy, right? We live in a world that often encourages us to compete, to protect our own interests, to put ourselves first. The idea of prioritizing the happiness of others over our own can seem counterintuitive, especially when we're taught to hustle for success. But Ricard's teachings show us that when we give our energy to others, when we focus on alleviating their suffering, we actually tap into a deeper well of joy within ourselves. It's a happiness that doesn't come from external validation or accomplishments. It comes from the simple yet profound act of giving, of being kind, of showing up for others, and of letting go of the barriers that keep us isolated from the world around us. So ask yourself, how different would you feel about yourself if compassion became the cornerstone of your interactions? How much more at peace would you be if your goal each day wasn't just to get ahead, but to lift others up along the way. Ricard's journey and his teachings remind us that when we nurture compassion, we also nurture a sense of belonging, of connection, and ultimately, of true happiness. In the end, the secret to happiness may not be found in our personal achievements, but in the love, understanding, and compassion we offer to others. When we relate to people with a heart full of care and concern for their well-being, we create a world that is not just more harmonious, but also more joyful, for everyone, including ourselves. At the heart of Buddhism lies a simple yet profound teaching known as the Four Noble Truths. These aren't just abstract concepts or philosophical ideas. They are practical, actionable truths that offer us a roadmap for living a more peaceful and fulfilling life. Understanding these Four Noble Truths is like discovering a secret to unlocking a deeper level of contentment, even in the face of life's inevitable challenges. Let's dive into these truths, starting with the first one. Suffering is an inevitable part of life. This may sound harsh at first, but it's actually an incredibly liberating realization. Suffering isn't something that happens to just a few of us. It's part of the human experience. Whether it's physical pain, emotional struggles, or the challenges of growing older, suffering touches everyone at some point. In fact, the Buddha taught that suffering is woven into the very fabric of existence. It's universal. Accepting this truth doesn't make us pessimistic. Instead, it helps us become more compassionate and understanding toward ourselves and others. Once we accept suffering as part of life, we free ourselves from the constant expectation that everything should always be perfect. Now, onto the second truth. Suffering is caused by our attachment and craving. This one hits close to home. Think about how much of our stress comes from our attachments, whether it's to our possessions, our desires, or even our expectations of how things should be. We crave things, we want more, and we attach our sense of happiness to the things we don't yet have. But here's the thing. The more we attach ourselves to these desires, the more we set ourselves up for disappointment when they are unfulfilled. The Buddha teaches us that attachment isn't the problem itself. It's our unrelenting craving and the belief that these external things can provide lasting happiness. When we let go of these attachments, we free ourselves from the cycle of craving and suffering. This brings us to the third truth. There is an end to suffering. Yes, it's possible to break free from this cycle. The Buddha didn't just point out the problem, he offered a solution. He taught that by understanding the true nature of suffering, we can transcend it. This doesn't mean that we'll never face pain or hardship again, but rather that we can learn to live with less attachment to the things that cause our suffering. We can find peace in the midst of life's storms. And finally, the fourth truth. There's a path to reach the end of suffering, and it's called the Noble Eightfold Path. This is the practical guide that shows us how to live in a way that reduces suffering and leads to a more harmonious life. It's not just a set of rules, it's a way of living with intention, mindfulness, and balance. The Eightfold Path includes right understanding, right intention, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration. Each step builds upon the others, helping us cultivate wisdom, ethical conduct, and mental discipline. So, how do these Four Noble Truths translate into our daily lives? They're not just something to think about. They're a practical blueprint for living. By acknowledging that suffering is inevitable, we can approach life with more empathy and patience. By recognizing the root cause of suffering, our attachment, we can begin to let go of the things that bind us and prevent us from experiencing true happiness. By understanding that there is an end to suffering, we open ourselves to the possibility of living a life of peace and contentment. And by following the Eightfold Path, we can move closer to that ideal with every action we take. Incorporating these teachings into our lives is not always easy, but it's profoundly transformative. The Buddha's message isn't about escape, it's about a deeper understanding of life as it is, and learning to live with wisdom, kindness, and mindfulness. When we take these steps to heart, we begin to experience a shift in how we see the world, and more importantly, how we experience ourselves in the world. So let's ask ourselves, how can we start integrating these truths into our daily lives, even in small ways? The answers may surprise us. Through meditation and mindfulness, Matthieu Ricard reveals one of the most profound truths. We have the power to master our own minds. Imagine for a moment that your mind is like a garden. What you plant there, your thoughts, beliefs, and emotions, becomes the foundation of your life. Just like a garden, the quality of what grows depends entirely on what you nurture. When we plant seeds of gratitude, compassion, and positivity, they flourish, creating a life that feels vibrant and fulfilling. These thoughts grow into a peaceful mind and a joyful heart, forming the roots of emotional balance and resilience. But what happens if we allow negative thoughts to take root? Anger, jealousy, resentment. These are like weeds in the garden of the mind. They don't just disrupt the beauty of the space, they spread quickly, choking out the positive growth and leaving us feeling stuck, stressed, and overwhelmed. The beautiful part of Ricard's teaching is this. Just as you can pull weeds and cultivate flowers in a physical garden, you can do the same in your mind. The mind is not fixed. It is pliable, responsive, and capable of transformation. You hold the power to choose which seeds to plant and nurture. Every thought, every moment of awareness is an opportunity to tend to your inner garden and shape the reality you live in. It's a simple yet profound idea. Think about your life for a moment. How often do we let negativity take over, feeding thoughts of frustration, comparison, or self-doubt? These weeds can grow without us even realizing it, often planted by the pressures of daily life, past experiences, or unexamined habits of thinking. But Ricard reminds us that we're not powerless against them. With mindfulness and meditation, we can step back, observe what's happening in our minds, and make a conscious choice about what to focus on. Mindfulness allows us to notice when a negative thought arises before it takes root. It gives us the clarity to decide whether that thought serves us or whether it's something we need to let go of. Meditation, on the other hand, strengthens our ability to consistently focus on the positive seeds we want to grow. Together, these practices are like the tools of a skilled gardener, helping us cultivate a mind that is calm, clear, and resilient. Ricard's analogy is both poetic and practical. If you want a life filled with beauty, peace, and joy, you have to tend to your mind the way a gardener tends to their soil. It's not about avoiding every negative thought. They're inevitable, just like weeds. It's about recognizing them, pulling them out gently, and choosing to focus on what truly matters. Now take a moment and ask yourself, what seeds are you planting in your mind today? Are they seeds of kindness, gratitude, and self-compassion? Or are they seeds of fear, anger, and judgment? The reality is that the choice is always yours. Each day, each thought offers a chance to start fresh, to pull out the weeds and plant something better. Ricard's teachings are a powerful reminder that the mind isn't something that happens to us. It's something we shape with every moment of awareness. You have the power to create a life that feels fulfilling, peaceful, and aligned with your true self. All it takes is the willingness to nurture your inner garden with care, patience, and love. So, what seeds will you plant in your garden today? And how will you care for them, knowing they will shape the reality of your tomorrow? Matthieu Ricard's teachings, rooted in the ancient wisdom of Buddhism, might seem far removed from the fast-paced world we live in today, but in reality, they couldn't be more relevant. In a society that thrives on speed, constant achievement, and an unrelenting pursuit of more success, more money, more status, it's easy to feel like we're always running, always chasing something just out of reach. But what if the secret to finding true fulfillment doesn't lie in running faster or achieving more, but in slowing down? That's where Buddhism, and Ricard's teachings in particular, offer a much-needed sanctuary. In a world that often feels like it's constantly moving, Buddhism offers a profound invitation to stop and breathe, to connect with the present moment. The teachings of mindfulness, compassion, and meditation encourage us to pause, to step out of the whirlwind of life and find peace within ourselves. It's about cultivating a space of stillness and clarity in the midst of the noise. Imagine, for a moment, how different life could feel if we all embraced these principles. What if we learned to be fully present in our relationships, really listening and connecting with others instead of being distracted by our endless to-do lists and smartphones? What if, in our work, we focused not just on the outcome, but on bringing our full presence and compassion to everything we do, no matter how small? What if, instead of being overwhelmed by our busy minds, we cultivated a sense of peace, allowing us to navigate stress with grace and resilience? Ricard often speaks about the importance of living from a place of clarity, and that's exactly what mindfulness offers. The ability to see the world without distortion, to respond instead of react, and to act from a place of awareness rather than habit. This isn't about escaping the world. It's about engaging with it in a way that feels aligned with who we truly are. It's about interacting with life, with others, with ourselves, from a space of calm and compassion. Imagine what your day-to-day life could look like if you practiced mindfulness in everything you do, whether it's the way you interact with your family, the way you approach your work, or the way you deal with challenges. How much more present, compassionate, and peaceful could you be if you stopped to pause and truly engage with the moment at hand? Ricard's teachings invite us to do just that, to slow down, take a breath, and find the peace that's already within us. The world won't stop spinning just because we meditate or practice compassion, but we will be better equipped to handle it with clarity and calm. So the question is, how will you engage with your life today? Will you keep running, or will you pause, take a breath, and experience life as it is, with mindfulness, compassion, and peace? Matthieu Ricard's journey has shown us something profound. The Buddhist secrets aren't just dusty teachings passed down from generation to generation. They're timeless truths that transcend time and culture, secrets that hold the power to transform our lives today, right here, right now. You see, the path to happiness isn't about chasing after the next shiny thing or accumulating more wealth or success. It's not about external circumstances at all. The true secret to happiness lies within us, in the way we approach our thoughts, emotions, and relationships. Think about it. We spend so much of our lives searching for happiness outside of ourselves. We believe that if we get that promotion, buy that new car, or travel to that exotic place, we'll finally be happy. But what if the real secret to happiness is about how we show up in the world, how we respond to the ups and downs of life, how we treat ourselves and others, and how present we are in the moments that make up our lives? Ricard's teachings, rooted in Buddhism, reveal that the path to happiness is less about changing the world around us and more about changing how we relate to it. It's about cultivating a mindset of mindfulness, compassion, and presence. It's about understanding that we have the power to shape our inner world and, in doing so, transform our outer world. The more we practice mindfulness, the more we can stay grounded in the present moment, regardless of life's chaos. The more we cultivate compassion, the more we build deeper, more meaningful connections with others. And through meditation, we can quiet our minds and find the clarity that helps us navigate even the most challenging situations. So, what's next for you? Are you ready to take the first step on your own journey to uncover the Buddhist secret to happiness and peace? I'll be honest, it's not about reaching some state of perfection or enlightenment overnight. It's about progress, not perfection. It's about taking small steps each day to cultivate more awareness, more compassion, and more presence in your life. And over time, you'll start to notice that things begin to shift. You'll start to feel a sense of inner peace, no matter what's happening around you. Your relationships will deepen, your stress will lessen, and you'll find that you're more at ease in the world. Start small. Maybe it's taking 5 minutes each day to meditate, or practicing being more mindful in your daily tasks. Maybe it's making an effort to show more kindness to others, even in the small moments. The important thing is to begin, because the Buddhist secret isn't some mystical, unreachable goal. It's something that's available to us all, right now. You have the key, and as you unlock it, you'll start to see your life transform in ways you never imagined. So, what will you do today? What small step can you take on your journey to uncover the happiness and peace that's already waiting for you?